Good evening, Jedi Knights and Sith Lords, and welcome to the Star Wars Artifacts show. Tonight, we have a jam packed show tonight. We have a lot to discuss. Obviously, we'll discuss Chapter 21 of The Mandalorian, but we'll also cover the the two episode season finale of The Bad Batch. Hello, my friend. How are you doing tonight?
Doing okay. Can't complain. We lost one series that we're following, but I guess it gives us a little bit more focus for the weeks to come on the Mandalorian. But a lot to watch, a lot to absorb yesterday. Get ready
Hmm.
for today. So
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hectic for the whole show. But it's good to have content to talk about and stuff like that. So it's gonna be cool. And something tells me that the final three episodes of Mando will be pretty intense as well. So
yeah, especially the
uh,
way that we saw it end this one. But we'll get into that. Is there anything new and exciting on your end going on?
not really. I've been quiet lately because I'm kind of broke. So no big spendings for the moment. I mean, well, I've made a spending today, but I won't feel the pain until a few weeks, I guess.
Yeah.
I was able to purchase a little stuff from the Star Wars Celebration store. Obviously, I cannot afford to go to London this year, but hopefully, if it comes back to Orlando as we suspect it will in 2025. Hopefully, I'll be able to make it, or we will both be able to make it,
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
it would be very fun to attend my. It would be my first celebration, so yeah, I'm gonna take some advices from my friends who have already been there before.
Come on.
You,
Even I've been to
Nico.
celebration. I mean, come on. But
Yeah, I know.
I fell into. I was lucky. Someone had an extra ticket and they were looking for someone, and I just happened to be. It was actually even on my birthday and everything, so it was
Wow,
really good. So I spent
great
my
timing.
birthday in Chicago. Yeah, surrounded by Star Wars fans. So, but yeah, my end it's pretty quiet. I'm about to get started this weekend to get rid of my Millennium Falcon backdrop. Hopefully in the next few weeks, so I have something a little
Nice.
bit more. A little bit cleaner. Try to display a little bit my collection, a little bit of eye candy behind me the way
Mm-hmm.
you do it. I mean, I can't match you, but I have something a little bit more set up than this cockpit here. It's
Yeah,
dirty and
yeah. I've seen some items, and
yeah.
it's not to be ashamed about.
No, I'll get something cleaned up and ready. But
Mm-hmm.
without any further ado, let's get going. We got a lot to cover today.
Yes, and we have a
Um,
crowd. So hello, Steve. Hello, James. Hopefully, Darman will join us later on tonight. So yeah, let's do this. I'll let
so
you give the little summary of the episode, and
Yeah,
we'll
so this
go on from
episode
there.
we saw the pirates, which we had kind of suspected we would see again. I remember talking about this in previous shows that we've done, where
Yeah.
we thought it wasn't the end of Davy Jones and or the Swamp Thing or whatever you want to call him. So we
Yeah,
figured he'd be
Captain
coming back.
Spinach.
Yeah, and we had also figured. I think we even kind of predicted that like the battle that we saw in Navarro would probably be part of that.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's what ended up happening. Basically, they came and tried to seek vengeance and take over Navarro. Um, and then we had Carson Teva wants to help, but the bureaucracy gets in the way. As we saw, like it's steps to get through, and we'll get to those little details, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
in one of our discussion points. And it's followed by the Mandalorians uniting and for the rescue and trying to capture back the planet and ultimately finding a new home. So everyone's probably seen it. I'm assuming everyone's seen it if they watched it here. Uh, oh, James says I have no image. I hope. I don't want to be negative, but I'm hoping you're the only one with no image because I'm gonna go
Yeah,
double
because
check right here.
I'm watching from my laptop on my left,
Yeah.
and
Okay. Yeah, I
I
see
see
it
the
too.
image. Yeah.
Oof. Okay. Scare me. Uh, Reboot, James. Try
Yeah,
rebooting
or just refresh
or
the page,
refresh
maybe.
the. Yeah, no, reboot. Shut off the. No, just refresh. Yeah. Um, so, what's the first talking point that you have from this episode? You have.
Well, it kind of begins with Gorian Shard. That's his real name, not Captain Spinach. Uh, he arrives on Navarro with a vengeance, and Shard he asks Karga to surrender or face the consequences. He wants to take over Navarro, so
Yeah, I guess he's sick of
obviously,
living on his ship, or just he's a pirate, right? So,
yeah. So maybe he wants to establish like a a smuggling port or something like that where we can, you know, smuggle some spices. I don't know, but yeah, he wants to establish like maybe a trade route with Ando Onaka. No, I'm just kidding. But obviously, Grief Karga won't go without a fight, so he he refuses, and he sends like a little distress call slash message to the New Republic. And the shark doesn't waste time, and he bombards the, the village of Navarro, and all the citizens have to flee and run for safety. So
and this is the part where you talk about the bureaucracy. We saw this cool scene was there a name for the planet, or where did they mention where they were?
well, they say it's Adelphi Base,
Okay,
but we don't know the official name of that planet. But I
so
thought it
there's
was
some
pretty
cool,
cool with all the
yeah.
palm trees. And,
So they have like their own kind of like what would be, I guess, their galactic pool table or whatnot going
yeah,
on here. I tried to get this as best as I could. Like you said, there's if you look on top of the rack, I mean, you got a probe droid
old
that's leaning.
Imperial
Yeah,
helmet. Yeah,
you got a lot of scouts that are a
yeah,
lot of scout trooper helmets there. Tie fighter pilots, and you even got the IG-11 back there, like at the bar. It's a lot of cool stuff to look at it at that place. I guess little their own trophies. So that was a
hmm
cool scene to see. And then we have our friend back, our well, I mean, I guess fellow
our fellow
Canadian
Canadian. Yeah,
501st Legion member. Um, it was good to see him back, and obviously much more expanded role in this episode. Um, so I don't know if
yeah.
you.
I really love this part in that episode. He was giving a pretty cool spotlight. So he sees Karga's message, and he talks about it with a certain Lasat, and all the time I was watching, I was like, please say it's Zeb, please say it's Zeb, and thankfully it's him, but it's only in the credits
Well,
that
that's
we
what I was gonna
see.
say because when I first saw him, uh, I I didn't remember his name from Rebels, and then I was trying to pick up his name, and it never said his name.
Yeah, and
So
that's it. So, and the full name is Garazeb Aurelius,
yeah,
and the
which I just
Zeb is
learned
short
myself.
for Garazeb. Yeah, so that was pretty cool, and I thought the CGI was amazing for that character.
Yeah, so this is a discussion point that we had, I guess, briefly. Is that this is the first time that like blatant CGI, right? Like, I mean,
Hmm.
there's you can see there's no kind of animatronic or anything in the
Or
mask. Like it was,
prosthetics. Yeah,
yeah, and that kind of leads me to think that we haven't seen the last of him maybe, and they just made
yeah,
that decision like or maybe it was brief and they didn't want to spend on budget on so who knows what it is, but it was fun to see him and maybe give some history or context to who this is for anyone who doesn't watch the animated series.
yeah. So especially for Steve was asking, it was really him. Yes, it was really really Zeb. If you look closely at the credits at the end of the episode, yeah, we have Zeb and the same voice actor who did it in Rebels. Uh, did also his voice. So Yeah, he was introduced in the Rebels animated series. He was part of the Ghost crew with Eros Indula, Sabine Wren, and Kaden Jarrus and Chopper, obviously. Um, and for those who have never seen that series, I mean, you definitely have to watch this, especially with the Ahsoka live action series coming up, because in the well, we're not supposed to have it seen the trailer for Ahsoka, but it leaked since the previous celebration, and we already know that Eros Syndulla will be in that series, and we also know that Chopper will be there with her, and at some extent we're going to see Sabine Wren, who has already been cast. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Zeb popped up a few times during that series. So it's definitely something I'm looking forward to, and I think that you know they put it there just as a way to introduce that character and to create like some sort of curiosity for those who have never seen the animated series. And um, the character of Zeb, the way he looks, is inspired by Ralph McQuarrie's drawing for Chewbacca. Chewbacca was
Oh
supposed to
yeah.
look like
Oh yeah.
this. So
Huh.
yeah, they recycle a lot of McQuarrie's concept in the Rebels series. So if you're into those kinds of, I guess, Easter eggs, uh, you'll be uh, you'll be well served because Chopper also looks like a concept for R2, and we see a droid that looks a lot like a concept of C3PO in the series, and we saw one today uh, at the beginning of that episode when Grief Karga is looking at the map of Devarro. There's a droid, who says that that's a good intervention. Good idea to move the I don't know, was it the shipyard or something like that? You wanted to move uh, in Navarro. So yeah, it was uh, it was pretty cool to have those kind of details. So once again, if you have not seen Rebels, maybe the first season is a little more kid oriented, but from season two, uh, it's for everyone. I guess you'll enjoy yourself. You'll see some Inquisitors that we've seen in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. You'll see, let me think. You'll see Darth Maul. You'll see Ahsoka, and you'll see some stuff like the birth of the Rebel Alliance when ultimately leaves the Senate. That's in Rebels. So yeah, lots of cool stuff to see. So yeah, there he is. That's Zeb from Rebels. So the resemblance is
I mean, the distinct
pretty
eyes
cool.
that I can remember, like, one of the distinctive features were his eyes. I
The
remember
big
that there
eyes,
were,
yeah,
yeah, the big eyes. So that's obviously a little different in this. Um, I got the concept art that you were talking about.
yeah. There it is.
So yeah, sorry, I got a little quiet there for a second, but that's what I was trying to get get up for everyone.
Mhm.
But yeah, so cool to see him back for anyone who's seen Rebels. Obviously, it's more than an Easter egg and a setup for and a taste of what's probably yet to come with the Ahsoka series.
Yeah,
Um,
and he says at some point, "Good luck, you'll need it,"
yeah,
which was a phrase or a dialogue that we had Han Solo say to Lando in Return of the Jedi
yeah.
when he learns that he's going to lead the attack on the Death Star. So that was cool.
And this leads to the ladies' man over here. I don't know if you remember from those, but and the bureaucracy, which is a point that we brought up earlier, which is he came and tried to like plead for some help for Navarro, and unfortunately, out of nowhere, we got our little friend over here that's there to remind, and obviously, put her nose into the business and remind them that they're not part of the charter, or what was it that
Yeah,
yeah,
they
that
they have not
that's
signed
the
the
charter.
charter, so
Yes.
they're not officially a member of the New Republic. So because of that,
Yeah, it was
Colonel
right on the
Tuttle,
verge. Yeah.
he says like, "Oh well, doesn't look good. We're not going to be able to send some troops or some reinforcement to Navarro." But I thought it was a pretty critical scene, because uh, everything was looking as if Tuttle was about to send reinforcement
Yeah.
to the great pleasure of Carson Teva. And then, well, she comes in on the pretext of that she was going to the cafeteria or something like that. Do you want
Oh,
something?
yeah, yeah, you want
Oh,
some?
and he was like, oh yeah, you were posted in the outer rim, right? And
Yeah.
she's like, oh yeah, have you heard of Navarro? Yeah, I was posted there. So yeah, obviously she undermines all the efforts that Carson Teva had made, and that little exchange between Kane and Teva was pretty interesting because he said, "Well, you've you, you never served light, or light was never part of you," and then she said, "No, I found light."
Yeah.
She's she's obviously lying to his face, but uh, now if we had some doubts, now it's obvious that she's working for either Gideon or for somebody
Yeah.
higher
Based
than
on what
him.
we end up seeing, right?
Yeah,
So,
and when I say higher, I mean Grand Admiral Tron. So,
yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm pretty pumped for the what's coming up next because we saw so many tie interceptors. Uh, and what was it, the second chapter?
Yeah. Uh,
Chapter 17 or 18.
when they blew
Uh,
up her castle, and
yeah,
yeah.
on Caldevala, yeah.
Mm,
So that doesn't fit in the light cruiser. It has to be at the very least a star destroyer. So
yeah.
uh, I'm pretty curious to see what's coming up next. So having failed to to gather some reinforcement with the New Republic, Carson Teva pays a visit to the Mandos on Skull Island, and he's not very welcome because the member of the New Republic are not, you know, best buddies with the Mandos, and they even wonder how he was able to find them,
Yeah.
and we end up
So,
understanding that he was R5D4, who previously worked with the rebellion that made it possible. So he has like a private discussion with Din, and well, he tells him, well, your buddy Grief Karga needs help, so I
well,
thought
that
you
was
might
the
be.
cool part, right? Like, so they end up having that conversation, and then we obviously know that Din's gonna, help him out, especially owing after like having let him go in the past, and ended up having that awesome scene and kind of like Braveheart moment, of like a mix of Din and um I always forget what was the name I'd given to the other guy, the Heavy
Paz
Mando.
Vizsla.
Yeah, no, but
Yeah, Paz Vizsla.
yeah, Pez dispenser. That's the name I was.
Ah,
But yeah, so we have that moment where he stands up and he exactly as predicted in the previous episode for putting their beef aside now, and now that he saved his son, and off they
yeah, well,
go.
in the beginning, we're not sure. It
Well,
almost
yeah, it
looks
was
like
like kind
he's
of,
against it, but
yeah. I think we all knew
we
where
know
that was
that at
going.
the end he would come true, right?
I always find his helmet looks so small on him. I mean, he's got a completely different shape
Yeah.
too, but I always find he's got like a small little helmet on him. It doesn't really
Hmm.
come down on like down his face or anything. So I don't know. It's just something I keep looking at every time I see him. But obviously, so they have a plan to go back and From this point on, there's just
Once
so much
again,
stuff
the
going on.
Bo-Katan takes charge, right? She takes the
Yep.
lead and
Yeah.
she develops the plan to
And it
attack.
makes sense, right? Considering that Din is not really a team player, right? Not that he's not a team player, but he wasn't really trained as a team player. He's always been on his own, the
Yeah, he's a
bounty
loner.
hunter and
Yeah,
those stuff. Yeah, whereas it makes sense that Bo is taking over. When we go back to Navarro, you've seen like now the pirates are like taking over the whole place and trying to show that like piratey kind of thing. That, they've taken over drinking and drunk in the streets and all this stuff. And so
yeah. We almost, I was expecting to hear that famous Pirates of the Caribbean song,
don't
"Yo
remind me
ho,
that
yo
that
ho,
ride
pirates
freaked
life
me
for
out, man.
me."
I'm telling you that the animatronics are a little older there. That thing really
Yeah.
freaked me out that ride. Um, but yeah, so I mean, anyone who's seen this knows what happens. So you got Din that ends up distracting the Crosshair ship, while Bo releases the hounds
Yeah, that
onto the
famous scene we
city.
saw in the trailer, right? That
Yeah.
was cool.
And then put a couple little shots here of our little friends here. No,
Yeah,
they didn't flee the city like everyone else.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
because they knew that none of the pirates could enter their bunker. The door is too small,
yeah. Well,
so
this
they said,
guy
"Oh,
could
we're
have.
safe. The Anzalans are pretty safe." Yeah, that guy was. He kind of made me laugh. The one before, yeah, the Argonaut. He reminded me a little of Smee in Peter Pan. You know
Yeah,
the like
yeah. You're right. You're right. Even made him
the
look with a
right hand
pirate,
man of
the little
Hook.
braids and all that stuff. Like it's. But yeah. So I mean, again,
Yeah, and that scene, another wink. I thought it was a good wink to the Predator scene. When Mac grabs the Gatling gun and he shoots, screaming
yeah.
contact. I was like, okay, well, that's a nice little wink. It was pretty cool to see.
There's the
And
part that you
then
were referencing right before we started, saying how is it that he didn't hear anything going on behind him, right? Like he
yeah,
doesn't
well,
have a sniper,
those
right? You
first
said it.
one, yeah, those two that she's about to knock out, I guess. Well, I was okay with that, but the Trandoshan holding the big
Yeah,
gun,
completely oblivious to it until the
yeah,
very
yeah,
end.
yeah.
So,
So
but yeah, so ultimately giving up and surrendering as Grief brings back the
the people of
townspeople.
Navarro, yeah,
Yeah, and
they fight back. Now they know that they have some backup.
in
That
my
was
little
cool.
shot here, my little
The
GoPro,
GoPro shot,
I had to put it in, and
the weekly
ultimately
GoPro shot.
then you get your the ship that goes down, and that's the end of that.
Did
Uh,
you notice the sound that the ship made when it crashed?
no,
It was the same sound as the Superstar Destroyer when it uh, crashes into the Death Star in Return of the Jedi. It was the same sound as of the ship, coming down
no
after.
way I would have. Yeah,
Yeah, there was a lot
now I'm gonna
of
pay
familiar
attention to it,
sounds
but yeah,
when Carson Teva arrives on the Mando planet. We hear the same sounds we heard on the snow speeders when what's his name? It's Zev, the pilot who's looking for Luke and Han after the blizzard. When he says, Captain Solo, this is Rogue too. Uh, we hear the same, beeps and cool sounds. When that happens. So yeah, see, Darkman says, yeah,
darn.
same as the Executor. So that's the Vader's Superstar Destroyer. So that was
I'm,
pretty cool to hear those sounds, and it's a little bit of fan service, I guess, but I like it.
yeah, it's subtle and it's not too much. So then this the part that made me laugh is like after the Grief's big speech and giving them because like when Din is coming back and he's communicating with Grief says I'm going to take you up on that land that you offered me before
Mm-hmm.
and obviously part of what we had heard earlier, like giving them a place to stay now. And it's so funny because the townspeople are so happy. They're like, "Yay, yeah, yes, we're accepting." In my head, I'm like, "Get out of here, you guys! You just want that security now, right? Like, of course you want them to live there. Are you telling me you're gonna be like, oh no, I don't want these people here? These guys just saved you, and you know that they're going to be there to protect you and police." and protect you. So it's like it's not like if you're really like giving in, right, or sacrificing anything. It's a
Yeah.
mutual. What was what they used to call the Gungans and the people of Naboo? They were like not a symbiote. Like what was it like when they work together? What happens to one affects the other?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know
it's
that?
like a symbiosis.
Yeah, something like that. So that's the kind of impression I got when I saw this, and I was like, all these people are happy. Of course they're happy. Now they're protected by the elitist kind of group that you can get to save you, right? So
Yeah, but will they still be happy if they attract even more despicable people like
yeah,
the remnants of the empire, or so
yeah. But I mean, at this point, they think the empire is pretty much done, and I mean, if it's the occasional pirate, I mean, why wouldn't you want these guys on your side, right? So,
yeah. Well, I
um,
just want to mention before we go too far that when Grief says that he offers the land west of the lava flats up to Bullock Canyon
oh
to
yeah,
the Mandalorians. So you know, the, if you guys like Star Wars, you know that Boba Fett was first played by Jeremy Bullock, and he passed like what 2 years ago,
yeah, something like that.
something like that. Yeah,
I
no
feel like
more
it
than
wasn't
three
too
years
long ago.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I think it was a nice attention or nice tribute to Mr. Bullock.
yeah.
Who, who give he really give the demeanor of what a Mandalorian is. We never got to see his face, but it was great. Well, technically we saw his face, but not as Boba Fett, but as an Imperial officer in Empire Strikes Back. Jeremy Bullock was offered the role of an Imperial officer. When Leia says to Luke on Bespin, "Luke, it's a trap." The the Imperial officer who pulls Leia is in fact Jeremy Bullock. So uh, we at
There
least
was
we
a
got to
lot of
see his
that though.
face.
When you see like any of the documentaries and stuff like that, they talk about
Mhm.
or things you didn't know and things like that. Like where you see like Ray Park, he's on Naboo at one point. He's one of the I don't know if he's like a royal guard or I forget what it was, but you see him in one of the scenes there. Have you seen that one? Because
No, I
one
wasn't aware of that detail. Yeah.
yeah, so I'll find you the screenshot, but I actually found out that one when I went to Celebration and Ray Park was on
Hmm.
the stage and they were saying he was like I'm actually in the movie, and then he showed this little scene and he does like kind of like a little athletic move and everything, but I'll find you that screen, but it's pretty
All
funny.
right. Ah, wow.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so and there is a lot of that, like you said, like kind of a little bit of a wink to their actors and giving them the opportunity to play a little bit of a bigger role in that. So um,
And I'm sure you remember Quill from the first season, right?
yeah,
The Argonaut. Well, the same actress who played Quill was used for the pirate Argonaut that I was
I
telling you that reminded
I
me of
assume
Sumi.
so. Yeah, I would have assumed that as
And
well.
she also did the Snivian, the bartender at the not the Rebel base, but the No Republic base when we saw Carson Teva
Huh.
and Zeb speak. So the barmaid who hands him the YOLO projector,
Yeah,
that's Misty Rosas as well. So pretty cool to bring her back, I guess.
we'll get a shot of that later. So this one, the way it ended, we have the armor wanting to speak to Bo-Katan, um, and it's having her remove her helmet and
Yeah,
basically,
and when she removed the helmet, I was waiting for the Emperor to say, "Ha ha, gotcha, you're expelled."
no, get out. Thank you. But yeah, so I think so. This is a little bit more complex, but I mean, because I was trying to understand like what is she trying to do with this whole thing? I thought it was a little bit over dramatic, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, basically showing her that she crosses over to both of the
Both ways.
Mandalorian, yeah,
Hmm.
both of the Mandalorian cultures, and for her to go recruit and expand, I guess their Mandalorian and bring back Mandalore together. So I find there's a lot of like pumping her tires a little bit and making her out to be like a very strong leader. And I'm like, at what point are we going to see her challenge for the dark saber, like which we haven't really seen right until what the
Mm-hmm.
first couple of episodes, one of the first two episodes. So I have a feeling it's leading to that, and it's I don't know. It's going to be is probably with the episodes with Gideon or something, but like so, and that's where we go off now after when all this is all said and done. This is the first time I think we've had this little extra scene like this.
Mm-hmm.
Not a post credit, but essentially would be very
It's,
close to what you would get
it
a
adds
post
some
credit.
cross-spirited vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, you just didn't see any credits before, but it totally felt like it. I thought this shot right here was incredible. Like
Yeah.
it almost looked like under the water, like a um, kind of
The
lighting up
Titanic.
the Titanic. Yeah, exactly the same thing I thought, and it looks super creepy in one of those older ships that we've known, and um, I thought that was pretty cool as well, like the little probe. I guess
Yeah. Yeah.
inspection to go in
Mhm.
again. Give me that Titanic feel where it goes in and starts looking around, and
Yeah.
to find out that they think that it. What did they say was a Beskar?
Yeah. They found some trace of Beskar alloy.
Yeah, and
So
so they're assuming that or they think that perhaps the Mandalorian would have attacked. And then, so this is where we can probably discuss until we're blue in the face. But like, I mean, does this mean that it was Bo-Katan's old group? Is it Bo-Katan somehow behind all this? We know the grudge that she's had with Gideon, right? So like, who knows? There's so much that can be speculated about this. If anyone else has any idea of as to what you
yeah,
think
some
is
sort of
going on
theory.
here,
Yeah.
but for me, like I know that like she was extremely upset and had this, that she wanted to get vengeance on Gideon, but I think that was ultimately to try to get the dark saber back.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what's going on, and again, what's going on with the Sasha Banks, the WWE um, character that we had in the previous the previous Mando there that she played.
Mm-hmm.
So are they going to come back? What's going? Where did they all go? And now I don't know. I'm starting to think that I'm getting vibes that maybe Bo-Katan is you know maybe not who she's saying that she is. Well, not that she's not who she says, but like maybe she's got some kind of like agenda.
Secret agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah. Let us know if anyone else feels or has
Yeah.
any
Well,
theories on what's going on there.
I think my theory is maybe a little more simpler. Just maybe Tron had his men rescue him, and you know Gideon had some Beskar because the Empire took all the Beskar and made those little ingots.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they would make it look as if it was uh, like a Mandalorian attack to
Yeah.
you know villainize maybe the Mandalorians, but
Hmm.
or maybe there was Paz Vizsla who said in the book of Boba Fett that he thought that Gideon didn't deserve a trial, but they deserve to be executed. So maybe he had his own private agenda. Uh, but I want to talk also about uh, the New Republic. Our friend Colonel Tuttle. He really seemed to be like head over heel with, I'm going to say, paperwork. But did you see the amount of uh, I call it floppy disks, but obviously it's not
Yeah.
floppy disk, but the data card, or you know I have mine
And
on
yet
my
is
table
Droid
here.
Hubbard bringing in more and
Yeah, even more, and yeah. So mm, the New Republic doesn't have enough manpower to to review all that needs to be viewed, and they have a waiting list of people waiting for help,
yeah.
and they can even provide that security. So uh, I think that things like that help us understand how the First Order came to be.
Yeah,
And
there's so much. It's overwhelming for them, and then once you're scattering around and trying to like scramble to get stuff done, then it's an easy target, right? So
yeah.
the one thing that the Empire did have was all that structure in place, right? And so it didn't
Hmm.
really have time to guess go away. before. And who knows? I mean, I'm very curious, and I hope we get more of that, like the transition from the Empire to the First Order. And I was assuming that's what they're setting up with the Ahsoka series and the later series of the Mandalorian, depending
Yeah,
on what it will be.
and even he says, we're not a rebellion anymore. We have a structure. So all that stuff, is it reveals that bureaucracy came in the way of pretty much everything that should have been done. So
Where the Empire
uh,
would have been the complete opposite. Like they're not going to let something like that. They need something done. They do it right.
mhm.
So
Remember Palpatine saying to Padme, "This is where bureaucracy kicks in, and the Chancellor loses all forms of power he had." Stuff like that. So we're going back to the old ways, but the old ways weren't working anymore. So
yeah,
we
yep.
definitely need to. Well, we know that it's not going to happen. But yeah,
You
I'm
have
glad we get to see those things.
Darman is got his says they were paying Mando with Beskar and S1 season one. He goes, so they have the material. Of course, the Empire has the material. It's true when you
Yeah,
think that. And then interesting since how strong it is that there is a broken piece of it there too, almost like it was planted on purpose because people will think it's the Mando. So that
yeah,
seems
because
to be the
Beskar is
more
almost like unbreakable, right?
yeah.
So
So it seems to be the more I guess common sense when you think about it that like that's probably or unless if you don't want to accept that there's bad Mandos or anything like that. I mean it seems to
mhm.
be the more common thought, and then if we're not trying to overthink or over speculate or predict anything, but I guess we'll see in the episodes to come. But
Yeah,
and
because for example, pre Vizsla and the Clone Wars, he was a bad guy. He was not a nice little Mando that you liked, and
yeah,
he was at that time he was Bo-Katan's boss. So
so we'll see what happens on that.
he's
And
gone. He died. He was killed by Darth Maul with the dark saber. But what I'm getting to uh, is that it could be like a little clan or a little cell of Mandos that are up to no good. So,
yeah, so we'll see what happens in episodes to come. I think the next one is maybe setting up our two episodes for a finale and the story arc with Gideon, and then it seems crazy that we're already thinking about the end of the Mandalorian season three. So it's
yeah.
but let's move on to the Bad Batch. So this episode, episode 15,
Yeah.
I guess a two-parter finale was called the
Hmm.
Summit. The Batch decides to rescue Crosshair. They travel to Eriadu to capture Hemlock, but the operation doesn't go as planned. Um, and if we go through it like briefly, I mean, I think we've spoken about this yesterday. I thought it was one big episode they could have fit probably into one. Yes, might have been rushing it into the 40-ish, 45 minute, but
Hmm.
um, I think anyone who's seen it knows that like we're left wanting a little more. So we didn't get obviously the end of the series. And I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm not going to make a prediction. I'm almost making an announcement. There will be a season three. Will be announced at Celebration at the
Yeah.
panel that they announced. There you go. You heard it here. No, but we spoke about it last week, right? When I said that they had announced the panel already for Bad Batch, and like I didn't think it was gonna be just a post mortem, like of just like, hey, this is what happened. That was a great series. I had a feeling, well, all right, they're going there to give a sneak preview of season three. Um, so they start off on their new what's the name of the planet that they're on now?
Pabu.
Yeah, and then so we see that little relationship, and there's a little bit. I mean, a little bit of a eyebrow raiser, I guess. When I saw this scene, I'm like, especially when he kind of like he's still oblivious to her advances, I guess, right?
Yeah, he's all he's so basic. I mean,
Business, yeah, it's all
yeah,
business.
and she did everything. As she was obvious. I guess
Yeah,
that's this. the safest way to say it. You know,
But you felt like that scene was there for a reason, and then we ultimately find out a little bit later why. So then they go off.
yeah, because usually when somebody tells that he or she has feelings for another person, normally it's a bad sign, I guess.
Yeah, it was her subtle way of doing it, and you could see he looked back and he was like, did I just kind of like miss an opportunity? But so they go off to um, this is it like well, this was what it was Tarkin's base, right? That they call it, or
Yeah,
his kind of like
compound.
yeah, and
So it's on Eriadu, the home planet of Tarkin,
yeah,
where he grew up. And for those of you who read the comic books and the novels, he before becoming a military, he was a proficient hunter. And there's even I think it's a comic book where Tarkin hunts Darth Vader in the jungle of Eriadu. So there's like a there's history there. So that's
and
pretty cool.
I'll let you introduce. So obviously they're having their summit, as they said here with Hemlock, um,
Yeah.
as they had kind of foreshadowed in the previous episode. And
Mm-hmm.
then you got the batch that's trying to infiltrate their way in through this kind of skyliner type thing. Reminds me again of what they have at Disney and how to travel around.
Yeah.
So Tech does what he does best to try to like go in as undetected as possible. And then there
Mm-hmm.
was this again foreshadowing. I put this in here for a reason because I
Yeah.
thought that
Well,
looking down to try to give show the gravity of like how deep
how
how
high?
far it was, yeah, and
Yeah.
everything. So I'm like, all right. So like there, subtle hints. Not everyone picks up on those, but like you just think like in something like this, there's a scene that's there. It's there for a reason, right? So I'll let you introduce. If I mean, I know you looked up a bit. You probably knew who these guys were in most cases anyway. But
Well, no. To be honest, I had to make a little research to. I guessed that there were somebody that we knew, but I was
well,
not
him
sure who
especially,
was
right?
who.
I
Uh,
just assumed that he was because he says that he fought with the clones, but I didn't remember him at all. But I mean,
yeah.
it's
So
normal for me. But
that's Burton Coburn. He served as uh, Plo Koon's lead officer on his little fleet. So that's how we got to know him. We saw him in the arc where they go rescue Tarkin and the Citadel. And there's also another arc where we saw him that I cannot remember. Before we go to the guy in white, let's check the other guy first. Do you have a yeah? That's Urs Romaldi. He was seen in episode 4 at the little conference table where we hear that Tarkin briefs his man about the the governors will now have full authority on the independent systems. So he was there, and he was also in the Rogue One movie. So uh, that's another cool officer to see. And then, well,
our
I
first
saw a guy in
animated
white.
Krennic,
Yeah, it's Commander Critic in the Bad Batch though. He
hmm,
has not reached the rank of director. So and during the meeting, he is asked to make an update on Project Stardust,
yeah,
which is obviously the code name for the Death Star. So
who's
that's
also the
pretty
name
cool.
of.
The Generoso.
There you go.
Yeah,
Put you on
yeah,
the spot there.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like, come
yeah,
on. I'm like, why is it taking so long? So yeah, so on they go. They infiltrate. They talk about putting a tracking device on Hemlock's ship. It's funny you wrote the note here for the 3811, the code that and I remember when I heard the code, I'm like, wait a minute, and like I'm like, but I didn't catch on. It was the code, the THX reverse, but like,
Yeah, reverse
uh,
48 checks
yeah,
to 1138. Yeah,
they
that was
always
cool.
get that number in there.
And there was also like a the code they gave to land on Eriadu was 1143, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was the name of a character in THX 1138.
Hmm.
Uh, I haven't seen THX in a pretty long while, so but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's Robert Duvall's love interest, who's maybe 1143, but that is as yet to be confirmed. So,
So while they're doing their mission to try to get that tracking device, I mean, obviously to try and um, find Crosshair, um,
mhm,
they're noticing that, or Tech's noticing that there's, is it Tech or yeah, it's Tech that's noticing, right? That
yeah.
the cameras, there's some security that's disabled there, and lo and behold, who do we find out? They're kind of held up by a couple stormtroopers, but it's Saw Gerrera, our old friend, looking very young
Mhm.
and slim, may I add. Um,
Yeah, well,
so
that's his look from the Clone Wars, and
yeah,
the we saw him in season one as well of the Bad Batch. So
yeah. Um,
that's his.
so he had a part, but mainly it's funny because we spoke about this earlier. It's like he had his own mission in the greater cause, and like striking at the Empire. But in the end, what it does is just really mess up everything for the Bad Batch.
Yeah,
Um, getting them, I guess, detected also in the end.
yeah, because Wrecker and Omega had planted like a tracking device on Hemlock's shuttle,
Yeah,
so they would know where Crosshair is being
yeah. So they
held.
could, they could find the location of this base or whatever is going on where they're
Yeah,
doing this medical stuff, right? So
we know it's Pantentis on planet Wayland, but they don't. So
yeah,
uh, yeah, so that it blows up all the plans when they all the detonators go off. But yeah, they jump back onto their like air train, uh,
yeah, and
and
it's blowing up here. It's funny, the whole cargo, and like you said, where Hemlock's ship was. So basically, the whole mission becomes a failure for them.
mhm,
And as they're leaving, I guess the power to the Skyliner, monorail, whatever, um, conks out, and they're left
mhm,
stranded up there on the wire. So and they're put in a tough spot. And that's basically where the first episode ended. And I'm like, all right, well, it was all right, a good setup. Let's see what happens next. At this point, when
mhm,
I saw it end there, I'm like, well, that's no way this series is ending. And on this, like,
yeah,
and I think we had pretty much assumed that it
mhm,
wasn't. But after that episode, it was like confirmation, and especially
mhm,
when you look at it's still the next episode was 25 minutes or 27. I don't remember exactly. 29 minutes here. You have it here,
yeah,
perfect. And I'm like, well, there's no way unless it's like viciously rushed that this is ending. So managed my expectations. I knew it was to come, and it was going to be a little bit more of a, I guess, a cliffhanger, setup, I guess, for the next series. But I didn't think it was going to be that much of a setup. So this one was called Plan 99, which we find out is what that meant later. And as they're trying to escape, they succeed, but at a huge cost. And they regroup on Ord Mantell only to be betrayed. So that's putting it very simply, but we'll go through this, and I'm pretty sure that there's more than enough points to talk to here. And
mhm,
this action scene is what led up to um, Tech going out and again getting things fixed again to take off and leave. Um, and this is funny when they sent was it the Y wings or the V wings that they sent out,
the V wings, yeah,
and he's like, well, they could strike our old man Tarkin's like, I'm aware of that. Do it anyway.
do it
Like,
anyway. So
yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm aware of that. I took this shot here because something stuck out to me when I saw this. I don't know if there's anything that stuck out with you, but
it's not a pilot who's inside.
there you go. Okay, so I'm not the only one that saw
Yeah,
just the contrast of a white pilot was just weird to me. You're so used to seeing all their Tie Fighter pilots, all the you know, they're typically black, right? So
Yeah,
I don't know. Just when I jumped out at me, I'm like, wait a minute, look, there's just something that's off.
but
Um,
we were speaking of Walt McQuarrie's concept, and that that element is also a tribute to one of the first drawing made by Walt McQuarrie for the Stormtroopers. So I guess we can call it Stormtrooper Phase One.
well, that's what I was gonna
Uh,
say because watching this, I mean, you've gone completely away from the clone, except for maybe the bottom part a little bit, and you got
mhm.
almost like a World War II kind of like Nazi helmet
Yeah,
plunked on top, right? Which is fitting with the whole, the how we hear the Empire is coming along, and then it's just a blend. If you would just kind of like blend out some of the parts, that's where you just get your New Hope kind of like stormtrooper, right? So
yeah, and we were seeing the compound of Tarkin, and Darman has a pretty good comparison. He compares it to it says it's the Star Wars version of the Eagle's Nest. So that famous
yeah,
Adolf Hitler bunker he had in the Alps.
oh yeah, that everything just shut down
So
when they were all worried that the explosions were going. It's like, don't worry, just sit back down.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Anyone who saw Band of Brothers, that final episode where they barge into the Eagle's Nest. I guess that was it. So yeah, pretty good reference, Darwin.
this is where the part where I mean Echo comes back,
Mm.
finally gets things on, and then he eventually he's hanging off the back of the ship trying to climb back up, um, but doesn't succeed. Unfortunately, it was reminiscent of I mean, it probably happened. I don't know how many movies we've seen this, where it's like he's hanging off, it's like, just let me go, just let me go. And I'm thinking about the day after tomorrow is one of them when he's hanging off. I think they're on top of like a mall, and he's pulling
Yeah.
down the
Wow.
glass,
Okay. Yeah.
and then like so that's what he says, and he says, what does he say? No, come or
Mission Impossible kind of
yeah,
scene, where
but
Tom Cruise would successfully come back on top of the wagon
and
at
what
the
was
very
it that
last minute, or Fast and the Furious.
Wrecker says to him something like, you don't do it or whatever, and he
Yeah,
goes,
yeah. Don't do that on me, or yeah,
yeah, and then he goes, when were we ever known to follow
to
orders, or
follow
when,
orders.
yeah, and
Uh,
then that was the end of that, and he took the last shot and falls to his death. I thought this was a nice little shot that this. I mean,
yeah.
oversimplifying it, the music and everything was really cool. It was really like put you like, you know,
Poignant. Yeah.
yeah. And then that was the last that we saw of our friend Tech as he fell to his apparent death, is what I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Because and we've discussed this before. We might as well talk about it now. It's like um, you question, well, whether or not he was alive, and like for me, I think anyone who's ever fallen in Star Wars like that, whole anywhere, has never died. We've always seen them again, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, there was a little bit more of a, uh,
Even the Emperor who fell through a ventilation shaft.
the Emperor fell, Darth Maul fell, Luke fell. Like anyone falls down a hole, no one dies. Boba Fett
Yeah.
fell in a hole, and no one dies. Every time you see someone fall and disappear, they always come back. So I don't know.
Well, all Jabba's henchmen died in this Sarlacc, but
Yeah, but I mean they're not main characters, right? So,
I know.
so yeah, so their I guess their monorail Skyliner is out of control. This Echo wasn't
Yeah,
able to
because when the
stop it.
power comes back, it's like
Oh
on,
yeah, went
on
full
overdrive.
force, and they end up crashing. And this scene in particular, I don't know what you thought, but like when Omega's coming back too after the crash, there was this awesome kind of like first person view of
Yeah,
her going
chaos.
in and out of like consciousness, and but like it just looks so cool. I can't even, there was no way I could capture in these screens. I just took one to kind of give you, this is what she's looking at, but in and out of consciousness, and it just looked really cool. Like it almost felt like a VR game or something. Like I played a couple,
Yeah,
and like it just, I don't know, it gave me that impression. And then yeah, and
sometimes after like a grenade explodes in the war movie, the chaos that ensues with the ear, like that little beep we hear in the ears. So yeah, I guess it was well shot. I really like that scene where all the way until they get back to the Marauder. So
So Darman says, so I think they killed them off for a reason. Tech and Echo are basically interchangeable in the squad, and I guess this has been proven in the episodes that we've seen, right? Like it's,
mhm.
you know, different strengths, but similar also in a way. Um, it says, and when they get Crosshair back, they will be back to a squad, not including Omega. The Republic
Yeah,
Commando squads
squad
are
of four. Yeah.
four-member teams, each with unique skills, and Echo and Tech had too much overlap. Yeah, I guess I would agree with that, but gives them the
Hmm.
flexibility because, like, it's true that like when they were, I mean, if Crosshair does come back, what does that leave, right? So I we'll leave a little bit of like I guess our thoughts and predictions for the end and like try to go through like the other stuff. So I mean, obviously she wakes up, they announce his death. To her, she's devastated, and I mean, he goes on to say, let's go back. Like I at this, I feel like Hunter feels defeated at this point, and he's like, you
Yeah,
know what,
and
let's
he's
just
ready
go.
to leave it all behind. Yeah.
Yeah, and he says, if you want, we can go back to Pabu and live there. He goes, would you like that? And she seems to think so, but I guess not so fast as we start seeing our old friend Sid. I mean, we find out that that's where they were. Got your bottles that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah. That red big ball at the top of the shelves over there. It
You mean
reminded
this?
me. Yeah, there you have it. Yeah. So I think it's you
That's the
know,
regular Coke. So anyone who, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you probably have gone or haven't gone, but like if you haven't, these are the Coke bottles that you find at Galaxy's Edge. Obviously, there's no Coke in this one, but um,
they're made to look like thermal detonators or
yeah,
something like that. So
I picked up all three of them. I picked up the Sprite Diet Coke, and this is the most iconic kind of looking one, and what you would see on the top over there
yeah,
behind Sid is similar to what they have. Um, but I mean, the Empire. I mean, Tech notices the Empire comes back, and then Wrecker's like, You're acting a little bit antsy there. What's up with you?"
yeah, yeah. She was acting very weird. Like she
Anxious
was
and
waiting for somebody. So Sid like well, I guess we were warned by I can't remember his name in the episode.
yeah, the guy the
Faster. That's the
yeah
name of the
the
episode.
race
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I guess we are, and we've spoken about this, or having our suspicions about her, and I think it's normal having watched the series, and anyone
Hmm.
would have. And again, that scene wasn't there for nothing, right? Um, so leads to Hunter trying to make Omega escape, and I love watching the commandos like this. They just look so cool. So obviously they've taken
Yeah.
uh,
But just a second. Norman is asking. It made no sense to go back to Sid's. Well, if they could have avoided going back to Sid's, I think they would.
I think they
But
were
they needed
desperate, right?
AZ. They needed AZ, the
Yeah,
nurse droid, to I guess to fix Omega
I think they were
and
desperate and reactive, right? Like after that kind of crash and explosion, they just
yeah.
needed to get somewhere safe and somewhere where they can hide and where they thought they might have been safe, but
Hmm.
obviously a big mistake. And we see that Hemlock pay her off and proving exactly what we had, I guess, had suspicions of the whole time. And Hunter still doesn't want to give up Omega. And this is the part that I took the screenshot here when we saw the glasses. Like, so he fell down to his death so far down, but he was able to go and find him. Like how did he even know, right? So, but
Security camera on the wagons.
sure. So it's just like So for me, that's a
Or
bit
the
of a
V
sign
wings.
that
The V wings could have seen somebody fall from the
well, it's true,
wagons and
but we know how much Hemlock, uh, how much what's the word that I'm looking for? He to him like the clones are like prized possessions, right? Like he sees
mhm.
I guess the potential behind them and how he could use them. So I have a feeling we're not done. I don't want to say it's the same extent as what happened to Echo, but I have a feeling it wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in one way or another he's gonna find a way to brainwash him or whatever to get him to work for him, um, which is probably one of the reasons why he still got Crosshair alive, right? So, um,
Yeah, well, who caught him?
well, that's it. So there's a lot of questions. The fact that his goggles are busted and
Yeah,
whatever, but I just have a
because
feeling that
if he fell all the way down, he's gone. But you know, a ship could have flown under him. Or
who
I'm
knows,
trying
who knows.
to
I
elaborate
just
your thesis there.
yeah. So yeah, it could be perfectly fine, and he just broke the glass. I guess we'll find out, or it could very quite simply be dead, and that's it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
He could be dead, but Emlock, being the cloner that he is, could maybe find some of his DNA. Well, not find, but
Yeah,
gather some of his DNA and make some experiment with it, and maybe we'll get to see like a evil tech
so I just don't think we've seen the
in
last
season
of him.
3. Yeah,
And Omega eventually can't let this go. She comes back and tries to save the Bad Batch, and then gets stunned and
Darman
captured.
says for season 3 opener, Hunter needs to pick up Sid and drop her from 20,000 feet. Yeah, that's a good one.
So Hemlock does eventually get a hold of Omega, which is what we had seen him. I guess was ultimately his goal a couple of episodes ago. And then it was Echo here that takes control of what looks like I guess a pre version of an ATST or
Hmm.
um, or
Yeah,
an at.
it says ATAC, but I
Oh yeah.
don't know what the C stands for. So,
Oh,
uh,
well,
all terrain
isn't
armed.
shouldn't be called an Atkata or something since the other one's called an at,
It's
right?
an attack.
Yeah.
ATAC, attack.
So anyway, it was cool to see those. Um, and then eventually, Hunter realizes that Omega is gone, and he's I guess you know thinking about how he might have failed it. They leave in the Marauder themselves. Um, he says,
Yeah, so
we're gonna get her back, right? So,
yeah,
um, but
he's on the mission.
yeah, and I think that's where. Oh, I guess my screens were a little bit. Oh no, this is true.
Oh
It
no,
does continue. Yeah, you're right. You're
we
right.
switch to Mount Tantis and we
Yeah.
see Omega, who arrives on planet Wayland, and there's not a say, and you know, she's asking her, why did they bring me here, and she doesn't gives her any answers. But as soon as Omega is gone, Mlek says, well, you
Maybe
better
now you'll
start to
cooperate. Yeah.
cooperate, yeah,
Yeah.
with the Emperor's project, because if you fail, Omega
Well, I knew she
will
has a
pay for
soft
it.
spot for her, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but she created her, so maybe it was like her Boba Fett. Jago had Boba and she had
Well,
Omega, I
when we
guess.
discovered her, they had that kind of relationship, right? Like it was her
Hmm.
daughter already, right? In the first
Yeah.
season, so she finds
So
Crosshair still out of it, I guess, from the
experiments or
yeah, the
torture.
interrogation, and then that's I put this screen here
So
because it's
yeah,
very
those
reminiscent
tubes.
of. Well, reminds me
What?
of the last Skywalker, right? Or not the last
Yeah,
Skywalker.
or Mando season 2 when they infiltrate the Imperial or Moff Gideon's uh, compound
Yeah,
on the Vero. So yeah, that's definitely some cloning experiments and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pretty curious to see
maybe
where
it's
it's all
tech.
going to lead. No, not already, but there were other bodies
Yeah,
lined up next to him, and I'm wondering if they have already begun trying to clone Crosshair. So I guess we'll find out.
but I mean, yeah, you've got so many other clones that can. But I mean, he's true. He's from a different, well, the Bad Batch color, right? So,
Hmm.
and then ultimately we also find out, or I guess we had kind of noticed that she had a soft spot for some of the clones, and seemed somewhat empathetic at times. And we find out the big revelation here is that,
Emery
yeah,
is
I don't know how. I
an
mean,
older
like
version of
sister,
Omega.
yeah, exactly. Says it's her sister, and she goes, "What did she say?" She makes a comment about like how it's ironic that like,
You seem to trust more Nala
yeah,
say than
than
me.
me,
And she said,
yeah,
well, why should I trust you? And then she takes off her goggles and she said, well, because I'm your sister.
yeah. So, um, so anyway, that was I didn't see that part coming.
Nope.
I mean,
Me neither.
I did know that there was probably something behind her, and um, the way that they showed her in the previous episodes, but to say it was that I wouldn't have guessed. And
Yeah.
that was the end. That's where they left it off, which was a little surprising to me. Makes sense in the grand scheme of things. I mean, if they, it seems to be common knowledge now that, I mean, it's they're gonna have a season three, and again, they had announced the panel and everything like that. So
Hmm.
they didn't feel, and it's probably rightfully so, didn't feel the need to try to rush and close this off. Um,
Yeah.
but if I were to make a prediction, I'm gonna say that the next season there's gonna be a gap in between in terms of
Okay. Of months that
years,
passes,
years.
years.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I think we're gonna see an older Omega. I could be way off, but I just feel like we're gonna see an older Omega. I
No,
think they're gonna try to advance the story a bit, like the timeline. So, 'cause I don't know where it falls in between, like the Bad Batch now in terms
so
of like
Omega will remain
pre.
captive for a long while.
Yeah, I think so. So
It
two
makes
things.
because they have absolutely no clue where she is.
Yeah, so because he says, Hunter says, well, we're gonna find her, kind of like no matter how long we're gonna find her. So I feel like we're gonna find the team, the three of them, the trio. Um, who knows what? Maybe doing missions, couple of filler episodes or whatever until they eventually find her. But the only
Or
thing
those
that
missions will
contradicts
be in order to acquire intel on where Omega
is
is.
that because I have no idea where she is, right? So
Hmm.
that's one possibility. The other possibility is going to be very shortly after Crosshair is going to come to, and he's the one that's going to end up saving her and bringing her back and reuniting. But the problem is if that happens too quick, if Crosshair, I think, saves her and brings her back within like
Hmm.
2, 3 episodes, I don't know how the hell they're going to fill 13 episodes after that, right? After they've reunited, you have to have a build up to that kind of reunion, right? And whether they want to put it in years or whatever, like if it's just like one episode to the next, theoretically, let's just say there's no gap. That means like 2 episodes from now they're back together, which makes it's a little weird to me. I think there's gonna have to be either a gap or they're gonna have to really stretch the rescue of Crosshair and Omega.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Darwin says he thinks it will be a matter of weeks or months before she's rescued. He doesn't see it being years. Uh, yeah, I think maybe 1 year tops. Because, well, on the other end of the spectrum, I can see, you know, after like 3 or 4 episodes, if she's rescued, they can continue the fate of the clones story, I
I,
guess.
yeah, for me, I, I don't know. I'm just picking up a pattern in from Rebels, from Clone Wars and whatnot, and I think they're gonna try to
Or it
age
can
her.
be only an 8 episode season.
No, no, but what I'm getting at is I feel like they're gonna try to age her. That's the only
Okay.
thing I'm thinking. I have a feeling that she's not going to be a kid, and the only way to do that is to try to like, because I find
Mm-hmm.
that there is a difference when you look at last season and this season in terms of her look, and if you look at the pattern of Clone Wars of Ahsoka and Ezra from Rebels, he gets older as and taller
Mm-hmm.
and bigger, like growing into somebody, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
have a feeling that something's gonna happen. Is she gonna fall in line and work with her sister and try to like just be patient because she doesn't know where the other ones are as well. Like I mean, I guess she can think they're at Pabu or whatever, but like she can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see what's gonna happen, but time will
Or they
tell.
could use Omega as bait to try and capture the rest of the batch.
Hey, the rescue doesn't have to be, it could be a game of chess, right? Patience, waiting for the right moment,
Mm-hmm.
and for it to strike could be something that we find out Crosshair and her have been working on something for a long time, and eventually now is the right time to do something, and who knows, right? But I don't know.
Plan 100.
For me, maybe it's because of what I do for work, but I'm always kind of like um, planning ahead and forecasting ahead and picking up trends and patterns and stuff. And I go,
Mm-hmm.
the other animated series always have that the evolution of a child into the teenage years, and I have a feeling that's why I think we're going to see that. But like I said, the other option is we're could we look at a few weeks later and then Crosshair is trying to get her back, but I just find that like if it's not that they got to stretch it out, then they could stretch out the timeline. Because again, I mean, if 2 episodes in they're back together, then we're gonna have episodes of them running away from crabs again, right? So
Yeah. Another good point from Darwin. He says if Crosshair or Emery get her out, season 3 could be about them going after the cloning operation. He thinks that Emery has a role in there somewhere. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah.
well, so I mean, you know, we have to think of what's been going on with the whole cloning thing throughout the whole, I guess, the Skywalker kind of storyline, right? The Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no real mention of that. The only time that we hear about it again is when we get to the sequels, and even then, it was like Episode 9 that kind of like
Mm-hmm.
got rushed and thrown in
They
together,
rushed. Yeah.
right? So, but we know Snoke is involved, so you can try to trace that back to almost right after, not almost right after, but Return of the Jedi influencing a young Kylo Ren, but like
Yeah,
I
because
don't know.
in the novelization of the Return of the Jedi, it says that as the Emperor was falling through the ventilation shaft, uh, his spirit had already regained Exegol, and he he transferred his spirit in one of his clones.
Okay, so yeah, so but yeah,
So
having the
everything was
technology already
really,
there, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I guess. So I guess we'll find out what that is, and we'll have a setup, and it's funny because we'll have their setup of like I guess pre-original trilogy, and then Mando leading to I guess Snoke and all that kind of like. Hey, who knows? You might see Snoke at the end of like the last episode of Mando, right? So
Hmm.
we've already had the actor in the series, so why not? Well, no, he's sorry in the saga show up again as in Andor. So
Yeah, yeah. And Darwin says, uh, that since Emery had a little Australian accent as well, uh,
much more faint, but yeah,
yeah, yeah, he had his doubt about Emery, but he even checked if it was Michelle Hang who was voicing her like a different way, but it wasn't. So it kind of, you know, maybe took him off the trail that she could be
yeah.
another, but
Oh
it
yeah,
turned
that
out
would
that
have
she
been
was. So.
yeah been dead. Well, that's why. I mean, she's still fairly young, right? So I'm talking about Omega. So
Hmm.
and but I mean, I'm pretty sure now that we know who she is, they're going to be an episode or two of her backstory and her origins and stuff like that. So we'll find
Yeah,
out
I wouldn't be
more.
surprised if season 3 would begin with like a little flashback where we saw, Omega being created and what Nala say, and maybe she was trying to alter her genes to create another special clone like the rest of the batch. So
Uh, James says, I feel 2 episodes were pretty predictable, but the shocker was the girl apparently being a clone. Always thought there was something about her and the way that she interacted with Crosshair. Yeah, totally agree. We
mhm.
mentioned that before too, and
Yeah.
So like now, it's anyone's guess. I mean, obviously, I mean, maybe we'll see something from Celebration, a little teaser or something like that, and
Hmm.
maybe we'll see an older Omega, and I could say that I was right. But
Well, there's definitely going to be some reveals during celebration. I don't know if it's going to be about the
I
Bad Batch, but
I think the Bad
I
Batch that'll be like the only reveal we're probably gonna get is Bad Batch season
season
three,
three,
like a title screen, and that's it. We're
and
not gonna
maybe
get
a
any
date,
clips. Yeah.
maybe a release date that will ultimately being end up being postponed for 6 months,
I'm
like it
assuming we're gonna
always
see
is,
fall
because
2024 or something like that, or so.
the season two was supposed to come out like in May 2022. Then it was postponed to fall 2022, and we got it in after the holidays. So
Yeah.
it's
I mean, now there's no COVID really interfering with scheduling and stuff like that anymore. So I don't know. I'm
yeah,
gonna guess maybe fall of 2024. Well, yeah,
okay.
I don't remember the schedule for the other stuff, but
So we'll be more than a year without knowing the fate of Omega, right?
I think so. Well, we'll see
Okay.
trailers, right? And
Yeah.
I guess what we'll see is how she looks in the trailers. So, um, but yeah, so I think I'm guessing nothing before say summer of 2024. I'd be shocked if there was anything that quick.
Hmm.
But again, I
Yeah.
have to go look at what the release schedule is for everything else, what they have planned, and then where that fits in between all of it, right? So
Yeah. And I think that the big focus on in celebration will be on Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, which are the next two TV shows coming out. Skeleton Crew is supposed to come out in the fall.
maybe an
Ahsoka,
Obi-Wan season two announcement, maybe Book of Boba Fett season two
yeah.
announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so because I know that they're constantly talking about his name's I'm forgetting right now the actor from Boba Fett, but
Tamara Morrison.
yeah, so he's constantly giving a little feedback of what he would like to do in this and that, and
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe finally a movie announcement or something. I mean, from what I heard or what I saw, Ryan Johnson's trilogy is scrapped now and all that. So um, thank God.
And Damon Lindelof has been replaced for his project. So
Yeah, but I mean, who knows what's going on anymore with these? So um, I guess we'll
yeah,
see.
I think the main focus is on the series, and if we get a movie announcement, it will be like a huge bonus. Uh, but I don't really expect like a release date for an upcoming movie. Uh,
Good point
so
by Darman is we haven't seen Boba Fett yet, and
no,
is
it
he?
was mentioned when he went to Perdimoto's garage.
Yeah, in
She
Tatooine, and
said, "Are you taking over?
yeah.
Are you getting to war with Boba?" But yeah, that's it. That's the only uh, the only name drop we got. So
Well, yeah. So I don't know if that ever mentioned season two, but I mean, I'm more like now that we've got the whole origins done, I'd be curious to
hmm
see what's going to happen. And he had mentioned that he'd want him to go back to his roots, right? But I guess we'll see what happens. And so that's basically it for a Bad Batch. And hope
hmm
everyone enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
yeah, I had some fun. It was
Yeah,
something we could look forward to. On Wednesdays, and it was pretty cool. It was a fun ride. I think there was like maybe at least half, perhaps more episode that I really enjoyed. I mean, I really liked the first two. I liked the third one as well when we were, when we caught up with Crosshair and we saw Cody as well. That was fun. Uh, the mid season, uh, the two episodes in the mid season was pretty cool. With that whole little suspense we had with Senator Chuchi, that was fun. The episode where we got to introduced to Mayday, the one where Crosshair finally opened his eyes and realized that he was, on the wrong side of the battle. And the final three episodes were kind of cool too. So yeah, I'd say I would give it like a 7 out of 10. I don't know for
It's
you.
fair. Yeah,
Did it fair? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, uh,
Seven, 7.5,
six.
something like that.
I've been a little bit more in the 6.5 to 7, but
Okay, well,
I
if
just
I
find
say
it's not
7.5, 6.5,
yeah,
so
it's just not complete, right?
average of 7. Yeah.
I think with a stronger ending, I think could have been a little better. A few
Mm-hmm.
filler episodes, but I don't know. I mean, I like the animated series, but I don't know. I don't catch as much as you do when it comes to like all these little Easter eggs and things like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little exhausted of the babysitting
Mm.
storyline of like you got Mando, you have this, the so it
The
just
Last of Us.
yeah, so exactly. I think I'm just exhausted of the whole babysitting aspect of like everyone and protect this kid and protect this kid, and it's like I don't know. So it's just for me like it's nothing really new, but so yeah, I mean I liked it, I enjoyed it. I don't know what continue watching it obviously, and it's Star Wars, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't say, oh, it's a must watch. Like, you got to watch this series. Like, I think Clone Wars is a must watch. Rebels, to an extent, is more of a must watch. When Bad Batch, I
Yeah.
find is just it kind of fills a little bit of the gap. But like, if you've watched the end of Clone Wars, you're fine heading um, into the next season. I find this is extra. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a sprinkles on top and it's great. But I don't think I'm ever going to look back at this, and short of something crazy happening in season three, I'm never going to look back as like, oh, Bad Batch is an absolute must watch for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe that's why. Because the thing is, if I give that a seven, then what am I giving Rebels, and then what am I giving Clone Wars, right? Like it's just
Yeah, because it doesn't really answer a question that we never had, like a plot holes. We don't get
yeah,
answer to any plot holes. Well, I guess maybe a little as to how the transition from the clones and to the stormtrooper happened, but I mean, they could have put maybe a better storyline for that instead of that that mission on with the huge mecha droid thing we got.
I just think in
Uh,
hindsight they could have made this series into two seasons, and if they had crafted it a little better, two like call it 20 episode seasons, like and really like wrapped it up. But
mm-hmm.
I find that it's just sometimes it's a little bit stretching it. So, but overall, like I said, I like it. It's not it's I don't hate anything about it or anything like that, and it's a good filler in between new seasons of what's coming out and hopefully eventually
Yeah,
movies. And so
yeah, because I'm honestly I'm really pumped for Ahsoka. I can't wait to see that series. I hope I won't be disappointed, but yeah, I have pretty big expectation for Ahsoka. I wouldn't be surprised if Bo-Katan, because she left, with the mission of bringing back more Mandos, right? So imagine if she brings back some Mandos and Sabine Wren, because they knew each other from the Rebel series. Sabine is the one who gave Bo-Katan the dark saber, so they
but
know each other pretty well.
does Sabine really consider herself a Mando though? Like it's
Yeah, that's because well, she made peace with her family
yeah.
during the Rebel series, so perhaps she's feeling more like a Mando,
I have a
but
feeling that's something I think Bo-Katan
she's
might
not
spill into
the
Ahsoka.
honorary
Yeah.
level of Mando, right?
And who knows, maybe Ahsoka we're gonna get a Mando 3.5 out of it too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens. I hope not. I hope that they try to concentrate a little bit more and bring more to light the Rebels and give Rebels more credibility and context for people to go back the same way that we were able to go back to Clone Wars and watch. And goes back full circle to what I said. I don't think anyone's ever going to go back to Bad Batch and say, "Oh, well, what happened here?
Mm-hmm.
What am I missing?" Right? Whereas Rebels, you'll get that. Given Rebels had their fair share of filler episodes as well,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I don't know. I just find it's a little different for me. But on that note, what do we have for real now tomorrow? This time it really is
Tomorrow,
Friday.
I reveal my review of the Clone Trooper Phase 2 helmet. I shot it a few weeks ago, but it's the time has finally come to release that video. So, pretty darn cool video. I take the opportunity to compare it with a Cybercraft Clone Phase 2 helmet, my infamous Coruscant Guard helmet. So, I'll be able to make a little quick comparison there, and we'll see if the speaker, if it works as well as it did for the First Order Stormtrooper, as the voice changed a bit to make it sound a little bit more like the clones.
Okay.
So if you want to get all the answers, make sure to tune in tomorrow and watch tomorrow's video. It comes out at 1:15 p.m. For the English version on the Star Wars Artifact YouTube channel. So yeah, I guess that that will be it for this week. And it it's a matter of circumstances, but we spoke of a little bit of R5 in this week's episode of Mando, and I have prepared like a little story about R5 for next week's video. So
Nice.
if you don't want to miss that, make sure to hit the bell and subscribe, and you'll be notified when that video comes out. Well, in that video, I'll explain how R5 saved the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
So it sounds big, but I'm telling you, it's true
Yeah.
from a certain point of view.
Yeah. No, no. So moving forward, right before we leave, and the episodes will probably tend to be a little bit shorter, due to the fact that we've only got one episode that we're reviewing,
Yeah.
Mando, unless there's like a ton of meat on the bones, which I think that there might be. We're probably gonna have a spend more time discussing really that episode and
Mm-hmm.
breaking it down. I guess thoughts, and always invite you guys to share your thoughts and your opinions and predictions as well. Don't forget to like and
You know,
subscribe to the channel. Um,
and we'll have to cover some parts of the celebration as well. So
yeah,
we'll provide you some news and updates and fun stuff that we're going to be revealed during that weekend. But we still have another week ahead of us, so
we got
we'll
visions
we'll
coming
enjoy
down
the
the
break.
pipeline. We have I have to, I really want to try to start building that Lego BD1.
Yeah,
Try to get you the
BD1.
book review. So there's tons of stuff coming even after the next few weeks of Mando. So stay tuned.
And we received the forms to for the divisions screeners,
Yeah,
so we'll be able to perhaps provide you with like a non-spoiler
quick
review of the show.
impressions. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
quick impression. So it's gonna be fun. So yeah, thank God it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and we're gonna have some cool content ahead of us.
Absolutely.
And we'll try to squeeze maybe a Fallen Order gameplay at some
Yeah,
point where we keep talking about it and we just cannot find the time to do it. But I mean, we have like what 6 weeks? No,
yeah, we have
5 weeks, 5 or 6.
not
It's
much.
yeah,
It's coming out the 28th. So
yeah. So we want to maybe cram a little episode of gameplay by then. But
4 weeks. Yeah, it's gonna be, well, might have to pre-record them. So
yeah.
all right.
So thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking with us until the end of the show. And well, we'll see you next week. And until then, may the force be with you always.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.